Well, this week, TransLink increased service on 53 bus routes in and around Metro Vancouver. It's all part of the 2025 investment plan. And the CBC's Chad Pawson was at Surrey Central Bus Loop and asked some transit riders there about the changes.
Pretty busy all the time. Yeah, really, really busy.
So are you encouraged to hear that they've added more bus service overall?
Yeah, I mean, that's awesome. That's really good. You know, I feel like we could use it. It's a lot. The population ends here.
I think the more people are coming, the more people are taking transit, the more we want people not driving their cars and making it more accessible for everyone. I think it's a good thing.
Yeah, because where we used to live in Fraser Heights, it's only one bus used to be for how many years, and then now they add one more. Yeah, but it's just the bus now is getting expensive.
It is getting expensive, and that's the CBC's Chad Pawson speaking with transit riders about increased bus services and increased fares. And for more on this, we're joined by TransLink CEO Kevin Quinn. No relation that I know of. Good morning to you, Kevin.
Good morning, Stephen. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for taking the time with us. This initiative is the first out of the 2025 investment plan. What were some of the key priorities that TransLink identified with that plan?
Sure. You know, the 2025 investment plan really had two main priorities. The first was to tackle our funding challenges. We were facing about a $4.5 billion fiscal cliff over the course of a 10-year period. And goal number one of that investment plan was to reduce that fiscal cliff. And you know, thanks to the support of our Mayor's Council and the board and the provincial government, we were able to essentially chop that funding gap in half. We didn't solve it completely, but we took a big chunk out of it. The second piece is exactly what you're talking about and what you're hearing from riders, is meeting the needs of the region today that we know are so important, and that folks are encountering with overcrowded buses, the need to move around this region more than ever before. And so we were able to fund with that investment plan a 5% bus service expansion. Now, 5%, that may not sound like a lot, but I got to tell you, you know, this is our largest bus service expansion in nearly a decade. That, as you noted, will serve 53 routes. We'll be increasing service on 53 routes, which, you know, to put in terms of people, serves about 100,000 people a day. And so increasing that service is something we've wanted to do for quite some time, and we're really proud to be able to do through the funding of the investment plan.
Well, right. And it wasn't so long ago that TransLink was talking about service cuts and not expansions in the coming year. You are, though, still facing a fairly significant, you know, operating deficit, a structural operating deficit, are you not?
Yeah, you're exactly right. You know, as I noted, we took a huge bite out of that funding gap. That was an important piece. Because we were facing really very serious service cuts. And just to put it in a context, you know, in North America and especially in the US, there are transit agencies that are absolutely having to make very hard decisions. So, you know, you've probably seen in the news, you know, Philadelphia is in the process of making a 20% service cut to their region. Pittsburgh is looking at 35%, Dallas, San Francisco, you name a lot of major American cities these days. And they are facing these exact same challenges. And, you know, in some cases, their senior policymakers and elected officials are stepping up, and in some cases, they're not. I'm really proud and very fortunate. I think we should all feel so fortunate to live in a region with mayors that really stepped up, that had some real courage to really understand the value of transit in this region, and a provincial government that understands that as well. And so they really stepped up and were able to fund our investment plan. That's in stark contrast to a lot of these other systems that we're seeing. We are fully funded through the end of 2027, and we'll be working with those same policymakers to close the rest of our funding gap in the coming years.
When you look at fares, though, and I know some of this money has come from fares. Right now, an adult cash fare for 3 zones, you know, one way is $6.60. If you go to and from work every day, $13.20. How fair is it to put the onus on, you know, of paying for all of these initiatives on you know, the riders paying cash fares?
Yeah, you know, it's a good question. It's something that we're extremely sensitive to. You know, we're funded through a variety of revenue sources. Fares is one of those. Also, the fuel tax is one of those, as is property taxes, as is some off-street parking. And we try to balance those as best we can. And we certainly don't want that burden to fall solely on the backs of riders. I'll take you back a few years. You know, you'll recall that during COVID in 2020, COVID hits, we didn't do a fare increase at all, 0%. And then for the next 4 years, in 21 through 2024, we had a 2% fare increase. You might recall that inflation during those years was far higher than 2%. And so, I'm really happy and proud of the decisions that we made to keep fares low for riders, despite costs increasing at a greater rate. And so, with this investment plan, we did put in place a higher than normal fare increase. Again, we try to balance this in historical context, but also against the cost of doing business and the revenues that we need to keep this great bus service running.
I want to talk, we don't have a whole lot of time, but I just want to touch on capacity here. And I want to talk about the Canada line. This is a line that was running pretty much at capacity since the day it opened in August of 2009. Now you've got the Oak Ridge development nearing completion. That's 2,900 new homes. You've got at least 3 other residential towers being built there at Cambie and 41st. You've got the former RCMP lands, the Heatherlands at 33rd near Cambie Street. That's another 2,600 homes. You've got the Oak Ridge Bus Barn site. That's another 1,600 homes. You've got Langara Gardens, another 2,100 homes. All of those new residences feed into the Canada line. Are you going to expand the Canada line? Can you expand the Canada line?
So there's no current plans to expand the Canada line, and expanding the platforms at this time is really quite cost prohibitive. That's not in our plans. One thing that we can do is increase the frequency of the service, right? So, we can serve, and we're keeping a very close eye on all the developments that you mentioned. Believe me, that's something that we talk a lot about. We think a lot about how are we going to serve all of those residents, all of those businesses going there every single day. Our future plans do include service increases on the Canada line. Eventually, we'll need to purchase new rail cars. But, that service that's coming every 5 minutes, maybe that needs to come every 3 minutes. And we're going to keep a close eye on that ridership data as those developments emerge. And we'll do what we can to increase those frequencies to serve that capacity.
Kevin, we'll leave it there this morning. I wish we had more time. Let's talk again, shall we?
Sounds great. Always
Appreciate it.
happy to be here, Stephen.
Thank you. Kevin Quinn, the CEO of TransLink.